Hey, good morning, Wilma, and good morning to all of you. So, welcome once again and to this session, which is more practical today. And you'll really be taking away how to go about doing an interview, especially with a reference to the BEI and CBI. Okay. So, today's session is all about BEI and CBI, which is called Behavioral Event Interviewing and Competency Based Interviewing. Let me just give you a quick overview on what are we going to do and what are we not going to do in this session. Um, what we would be actually doing is what is a behavioral event interviewing? Uh, what is this called? Behavior event. And what is a competency based interviewing? In the sense, we'll involve what are competencies and how do we actually do a competency based interview. But we will not be doing the entire recruitment process, or we will not be doing body language, or we will not be doing offering orders, etc. It's not about interviewing process, etc., but it is about that the core of interviewing, which is called the competencies. How are we going to use competencies as a form of interviewing, and how do we go about it? All right. How many of you have generally heard about it or used competency interviewing, or a BEI based interviewing? Anyone who's heard or who's
I have used
done?
BEI. I use the STAR, technique of interview. I think which is part of the BEI process of interviewing. Competency is more technical, so probably that's. So I had a question which I wanted to start with is how different they are,
We will.
because and
Yeah.
how
How?
can we implement the competency based interview? We are mostly doing the STAR method of doing the interviews and all, which is I believe it's part of BEI.
Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. Anita?
Yes,
Anybody else?
so star
Yeah.
method is something that I also use. I attempt to use while interviewing. I'd not say I'm a champion there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
We have Priyanka also here. Priyanka?
Uh, well, basically, I didn't conduct any behavioral interviews, but then I faced the interview because when it
Okay.
was my selection procedure, two, three, multiple rounds were happening. So at the last, when I got selected, I asked them why so many interviews and so many
Mm,
different questions. Then
mm,
one of the senior principal consultant told me that we were actually conducting your behavioral interview rounds.
mhm,
So
mm.
after that also we had a detailed discussion on your candidature and so many
Mm,
views, so that's how I
mm.
got to know that how it is not a simple process. People actually go through the behavioral rounds who are really serious about the hiring process, and
Okay.
specifically when it's consulting firm.
Right.
No,
Right.
Nirmalji, I think I have also been part of the CBI, being part of the
Mm,
psychometric testing and tools being used and all. But
mhm.
BEI is what I use. I don't use CBI in my current organization.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So all three of you are kind of a little familiar. It's not, that you haven't heard about it. Some have experienced it. Some have done it in partial terms. So without further ado, let us do a little recap again. How do we connect today's session to what we did last time? Okay. So earlier on, we talked about what is a competency mapping, and then we did assessment centers. Okay. Again, I come back to this iceberg model, right? Where knowledge and skill are above the water, and what is below is the self-esteem, the values, the traits, the motives. That's the iceberg model. All right. Now, having said that, just think about it. Why do we hire? We hire so that we are able to bring a candidate on board who is able to perform in that particular job. Is that not the intent of hiring? Okay. Why do we do an interview? We do an interview so that we are very, we want to evaluate, we want to assess the person's knowledge, skill, and other attributes which are required for the job so that he is able to perform. Is this the intent or is there any other intent? Very important, right? That he has to perform. Now, typically what we do, we use question method. We go through the CV as I told you earlier and talk, okay, he's from this education. He has got so much of experience. He worked in some good companies. And we base our judgment by and thinking that, yes, he can. And we predict to saying, okay, he can perform based on these certain things. But is that a good criteria? It depends on after 3 months whether he is able to perform on the job. Now, research has amply proved that if your assessment evaluation is based on competencies and behavioral events, then you are able to predict his performance on the job far, far better, 0.75 more than what other criteria you use. Now, the fundamental principle of this is past behavior predicts future behavior. This is the fundamental principle of what the behavioral event interviewing and also competency based. What do we say? Past behavior predicts future behavior. So I would be referring to the statement saying, have you noticed? Even Priyanka said, I went through several rounds. So whenever you do a behavioral event interview or competency based, there is nothing like hypothetical, only when warranted to test technical skills or to give scenarios, etc. So typically, if you have noticed, you are always questioned or you are always asked about situations where you are only talking about past behavior because you are basing it on past behavior predicts future behavior. This was actually pioneered, propounded, researched by the father of this competency theory. Who is it? Who is it? Father? Who pioneered this? David McClelland. Please read his work. It's beautiful work he has written. He is the one who actually pioneered, David McClelland, this entire thing about the competency theory and test for what? Competency and not intelligence. He did a huge amount of research saying test for competency, but not for intelligence, saying that, hey, he has an IQ of so much, he is from such a premier institute, he's got so much of experience, but you must test for the competency and not for intelligence. Okay. So with that, we actually talk about, so what are we going to do? We're going to do the entire thing about competency-based interviewing and behavioral event interviewing and real-time simulation exercises, etc. All right. So typically, let us talk about Subir is a CHRO, even others. What are some of the interviewing challenges as a person who's hiring or as a person who's been hired? What do you think are some of the interviewing challenges?
And the person who was being interviewed can actually make up a story, pretending that he has done this work, but in reality, he may not have done.
So can I say a person can fake?
Yeah.
Fake stories, है ना? Okay. Then anything else? What are some of the
actually
interviewing?
also can't validate in an interview the performance levels. There's a validation which happens in an interview.
Very important. We talked about how do we validate? whatever he says, right?
There's no data. I mean, they are not having any facts.
Okay. So there is no reliability in what he's saying?
Facts.
Okay.
Facts and figures.
Okay. All right. Okay. Not factual? That's what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Fine. All right. Great. So let us just look at some of the challenges.
Yeah, also it is difficult to verify the surface below surface level traits, like you are saying, traits and motives. Just during interview, assessing all those aspects is little difficult. Sometimes time constraint or lack of knowledge. Uh, Interviewers lack of knowledge.
Excellent. Yes. So it becomes so easy to ask a question when it comes to testing for knowledge, or it becomes a little easy to find out whether he has a skill, because we can actually ask him to perform the two things, which are knowledge and skill, which are above water. But as Priyanka, or I think as Bhavana mentioned, what becomes a challenge is, how do I test for those things which are deep below the surface of water, which is deeply embedded? He can fake, things may not be factual, etc. Okay. So there comes in the help of this tool, what we call as behavioral event based interviewing or competency based interviewing. Okay. Now, most of you said we have done behavioral, maybe we have not done competency, but both these are actually interchangeable. Both of them are interchangeable. Let me just use that. When I say interchangeable, because even competency based interview also uses the past behavior and past situations. Now, let me just talk about, yeah. So when we talk about BEI, as I said, the behavioral event interview focus on, as the word suggests, behavior. Simple, I'm wanting to make it very, behavior is the focus. I want to focus, give you all very. So when we talk about behavior, is it the knowledge? Is it the skill? Is it the what part? Is it the what part? No. What is what? The outcome. What is what? The deliverable. But I'm more interested in, hey, how did you go about? I'm more interested in how, the how part. How is actually the means part. So when we talk about the how part, there comes what? Your motives, your traits, your values, and also your self-esteem. Okay? Now, in a typical traditional interview, we focus more on the easier part of testing, which is the
Skills and knowledge.
absolutely. If Anita goes for a position which is say HR talent acquisition manager, I will focus more on what is your qualification experience, and I'll focus on, does she have, I'm a BPO and doing hiring, say for month on month, my organization hires about 500 people, rehires and new hires, etc. So I'll only focus on the knowledge part. Does she have the staffing part? Does she have the knowledge of having done volume hiring? Then how does she what does she, so I'm only focusing on the knowledge part and the skill part. But if I'm not going to focus on the how part, How does she go about? What are his motive? What are traits? What are required for the job? Then what happens? I may be very good in both knowledge and skill, but when it comes to performing, I may not be really very good. The premise is, what did we say the premise when we are doing a BI? What is the premise?
Past behavior is better
You
prediction
actually,
of future.
you actually stole my words which I was about to write. Huh? Past behavior
Predicts future behavior.
predicts future. Okay. Now, I'll give you an example saying that if I'm wanting to hire, simple example, if I want to hire a entry level, I go back to the same example sometimes because you don't have to think hard and familiarity. A position called entry level campus recruitment executive. Okay. Campus entry level executive. What is the knowledge required? Typically, if I were to talk about knowledge, the person would require what kind of a knowledge?
It should have
Clarity on academics and knowledge of theory.
A,
Clarity of
data
concepts.
data management.
so the knowledge typically would be required in terms of, because the person has to source. So campus. So knowledge of various institutes.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
specifically said campus recruitment. Say engineering campus recruitment. So various engineering,
Engineering institutes.
right?
Yeah. Mm,
Agreed?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Sourcing. You have to get people, no? That's the knowledge
Mm.
required. Then what else? How many in number, etc., etc. Okay. In skill,
Students data bank.
I would
Data
also say,
management.
data bank where,
Yeah, data bank.
then
First.
all the, placement. Sometimes even you want to know the placement coordinators,
Yeah,
placement coordinators, because they are the ones, right?
yeah, their
Okay.
process.
If
Because
you recall,
institutes sometimes have their own process.
exactly. You also have to have an understanding of, when I said the engineering colleges, not just the numbers there, you also have to know whether, locations, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all that. I'm not,
Hmm.
and they're even ranking, everything I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Where do they stand ranking in typically
You
everything?
also understand
And
what is the entrance
knowledge of
exam to get into.
students' placements, where do they like? What is that? Because, to which organization do they prefer everything?
Hmm.
In terms of
Advertisement on campus.
skill, you should know data management, all the, how will you put your thing, Excel, all this, right? I'm not
Hmm.
talking much. Now, typically look at the job description where that person sitting in the organization, do you think he would be able to do much of his work? Okay, he can send mails, etc. But do you think travel will be one requirement to travel to all these places, meet up all the placement coordinators, right?
Yeah, traveling to
Now,
colleges.
colleges, then talking to those people. So, what do you think? Let us now look at these knowledge and skill we discussed about the water. Now, what is that below the water? Below the water line. What are those things he will be requiring? In terms of motivation, in terms of traits, don't you think the person will be required to really travel a lot?
Hmm.
So, one key.
Adaptability.
Adaptability. Will you agree that
Mm.
adaptability is one thing which he will require? Because he has to be adaptable to a lot of
Yes.
changes in terms of
Yes.
training, in terms of we
Mm.
won't, and we'll just look at
Mm.
two. And what else? And
Good communication.
personal.
Interpersonal skills. Mm.
Good
Sorry.
communication skills.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sorry.
Unbiased.
One second thing. And collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yeah. So we'll just stick to one or two first.
Integrity.
Okay, integrity. I'll give it to you. Now, say for example, I have to test for adaptability. So, how will you define adaptability, Subir, or anybody? How will you define adaptability?
Whether he can actually stretch, travel during different time
Ability to
zones.
adapt. Can I say ability to adapt to change.
To every situation.
Change. You agree? When I say adaptability means ability to adapt to change. Now this change can be so many things. Are you getting me? Change can be so many things. It could be change in technology also, no?
Mm.
People,
Mm.
places, food. It's not easy, right? Change. Now, if a person is not adaptable to, which is constant in this job, then that's the basic thing. Then he may be very, very good in his knowledge, skill, etc. And I have hired him. What will happen then?
He's going to fail because he's not going to adapt to the different needs of the job.
Yeah. So Anita is a candidate. I'm actually interviewing for this entry level campus. Correct. Anita has never gone out of her city. Never traveled. Okay. She's always been. So she's come for that job. I say, Anita, very good. So this job requires a lot of traveling. Would you be able to travel? That's my question. Anita, because she wants at any cost the job. Yes, ma'am, I'm there. I love traveling. I can take up the job. She loves traveling. But if you look at her for over, she's never stepped out of the house. Never stepped out of the house. So, does that mean I rule it out? I can always look at when I'm doing a behavioral event interviewing, look at maybe during a schooling, college, etc. She must have done. I don't have to look at only travel. I can look at things where how was she able to adapt to maybe a new college, new place of studying. Any change.
Maybe I'll just give you one example, a live
Yeah.
example. Currently, what has happened?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
had
yeah.
we hired a very senior guy to lead a DSA vertical. The channel
Right.
business. And he came from a foreign bank.
Hmm.
And obviously he has huge credibility. He has built, DSA network and everything.
Hmm.
But when he came to us, and we figured out that he hardly would travel, meet the DSAs. It was all on phone. It was all
Mm.
on Connect on all. So, but
Mm.
our job needed him to travel almost every week to every DSA, being on the road for almost half a day and all. But he, with his seniority and with the expertise that he has in foreign banks, he was reluctant to
Yeah.
move out of the office, and he was more doing an armchair management. And he actually failed, because he never physically visited the DSAs and built the connect and all. So obviously the adaptability of while he knew the job, but it was from our context, he was not at all adaptable.
That's a key competency. So, like for example, there are jobs like salespeople. So sales involves a lot of adaptability. So if you recall in the first case when I did a definition of a competency, what did I say? A competency is deeply embedded. Now, adaptability may not be shown just in what? It's a change. So it will reflect in any kind of it could be any situation, any place, any technology where I'm able to adapt to new things, change. So I need not actually look at only one thing. Hey, this involves travel, so has it traveled? So the question again we come back to in a behavioral event too is that we are not talking about what is that you can do, but we start a question saying that what? Tell me about this is something, I don't know if you're like Hindi or this, you got to just register in your mind saying that whenever I'm interviewing a candidate, please do not be hypothetical. Tell me about a time when you did this.
Or
Past. Tell
give me
me.
an example. Give me an example
Or
of
no. So you are saying, yeah, that's what I'm trying to now get you all into. If you say, give me an example, I know in your mind, give me an example. You might think that he is giving you, but it can be hypothetical. No, we don't want an example of something where you are saying, okay, no, you want to talk about a situation, a time when you did this, a time when you had a challenge. So it's always a situation in the past because you want to connect the past with the future. Okay, guys, you want to connect the past with the future. So mostly when we are doing a behavioral, we are what? So typically when I'm using a past behavior, we use a very good method, a tool called the STAR method. And why do we use, what is the STAR? S stand for? Let us look at what is S for.
situations.
S is situation. You want to know a situation in the past, a scene, like a story. Task is, what is it about? We'll do what is it? And what is the kind of action? A stands for action. What is the kind of action you have taken? I'm not really very concerned about, people might think, hey, it should always result in positive action or success. No, the interviewer is not looking at the outcome. I'm looking more, when it comes to competence, I'm looking more at action, the verb. What have I done? What kind of an action have I taken? And then what was the outcome? And there could be sometimes, we also talk about reflection. But so STAR is situation, task, action, and results. So this is a tool which we use when we are talking about a behavioral event interviewing. Okay. So when we talk about a situation, tell me about a time when you had to handle a dissatisfied customer. Let us actually do a small, quick kind of a run. Who wants to be a candidate? Who wants to be a candidate? Bhavana, you seem to be a good person for a candidate.
Okay.
Huh? Are you okay with it? Okay. So we will ask Subir. So Bhavana is the entry level campus recruitee. We are going to candidate who has come for a recruitment interview, and Subir is going to be the recruitment manager. So if you were to use this method, STAR method, situation, task, action, and results method. So you want to test for one, just adaptability.
Okay.
How would you ask?
So Bhavna, if you can give me an example of where you have where you have actually done interviews, multiple interviews in a span of around 3-4 days, where you have to select around 50 candidates, and you have limited on 5 institutes, which was different parts of the country. How have you gone ahead and done that?
Okay, so there was a time when I have to hire around 100 people in 7 days. So I,
One second. Priyanka, you are the observer. I want you to take some notes and then we will, just because you are a nice some group, we can really do a tutoring kind of a lesson. Yeah. And
Okay.
Priyanka or anybody else will be the observer, one observer. You can take them.
Okay.
Yeah. Please, Bhavana, so sorry for that interruption. Yeah.
yeah, so I have collected the, list of the colleges, and then I interacted with the coordinators over there and schedule get plan accordingly that in which colleges I have to travel and what kind of candidate I'm looking for. So already I have provided a JD to them, and I travel to different locations. And
And how did you schedule your travel? Because there were different parts of the country. You had a timeline to adhere to. What was the methodology used?
so I traveled like via like my own vehicle. So I traveled by my own vehicle in different parts of countries you are asking for.
Yeah, I mean, you have to cover, you have to select 50 candidates from, probably 5 engineering colleges.
Right, right. So I have to take a flight then.
Okay, but how have you done that? Have you done that in the past?
Yes, I have done that in the past, and I've coordinated in my current organization also. They have arranged all the flight tickets, booked all flight tickets for me, and have planned it in a day wise. That
Did you
where I
have
have
any
to.
challenges in managing your trip and getting your, see, I understand 50 candidates from 5 colleges, different
Hmm.
parts of the country. Did you had any challenges?
Yeah, definitely. Time is one of the challenge to reach there because sometimes flight get delayed. Sometimes the number of candidates are not, what they have told me that this much of candidates you will get, like 50 will be there, 20 will be there. So the required number of candidates were not there. So these kind of challenges I was facing there.
And how did you manage that?
I managed it with another college. Like if I got a number of 50 people that I have to meet 50 people in a day, and I got only 25 over there. So
10 seconds to go.
yeah, so
Okay.
I make up that in some other city. Okay, so where I got some other colleges also. I add on 1 or 2 colleges where I make up the number.
Okay,
Okay.
well, you have
Okay.
to.
We'll stop. Yeah, we'll stop here. Just to give an indication. Priyanka, observations. No, not did I say Priyanka? Whoever has actually done some observation. Can we have some 1 or 2 observations? Yeah. Anyone else who observed? Alicia, are you there?
Okay, I would like to share my
Anita.
observations.
Anita. Yeah. Acha.
Okay, okay.
Who? Okay. Right.
Okay, Anita, you want to answer?
Anybody, whoever is wanting to share his or her observations.
You can
About
Okay.
this
carry on, and then I could
interview
add.
process. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as per my observation, Subir was apt in terms of asking questions. Like he was
Mm,
cross questioning also in between.
mm.
Bhavna had to wait to comprehend and understand the question first. She could have waited instead of spontaneously answering the question. So she was in a little hurry, and she could have been more detailed to sound it more trustworthy. If she could have waited, analyzed the question, and
Ah,
then go ahead with her answers. It could
mm,
have sounded more
okay.
reliable.
More
Um,
reliable.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Also, taking pauses, and then she could have been more sequential in terms of how the situations happened, like step by step, what happened, how she planned, how she went ahead, and what challenges
Mm,
she faced, how she come across. So,
okay.
if that sequence could have been maintained, then interviewer could have been more impressed with that answer.
Okay. Interesting. Good observation then. So,
Yeah.
so when we talk about typical in interview, we feel all of us, we feel, hey, I can just, just looking at a person in the first 5, 10 minutes, I can get a gut feeling about that person. And after asking few questions, I can decide on whether I should take this person or not. It is not so. It is very easy to just ask a person few questions about knowledge and skill. But when I really want to test deep down those competencies, now what did Subir ask? He did multiple questions. Did you ask multiple questions, Subir? There were multiple
Yeah,
questions.
yeah. Yes.
Huh? So
Challenges.
typically what happens, the tendency for us to ask, in one question, there'll be 3 or 4 sub-questions. You recall? So we will be doing all this, multiple questions. Now, Bhavana, she may have been very good candidate, but she was, have you noticed? Because you asked questions of, hey, this is the number, and how did you go about? But she was saying that, okay, everything about facts. Okay, I traveled by flight. I traveled. They are organized the tickets. I did this. But when you were focusing on challenges, yet she said, yes, I reached. But did you get any data on the behavior part? You were see, mentally you are wanting to get some kind of a data on the behavior part. You emphasized somewhere challenges. You could have, like, the observer, sequencing, step by step. Hey, what were the challenges? Tell me, tell me about a challenge which you came across. You know, then what happened? You want to know the behavior, but behavior was not coming out from Bhavana's responses. Did you see? She kept on saying, I did this. What, Bhavana? You said book the tickets, etc. But you could not get the behavioral data. What challenge
Right.
did you face? What was yeah, Bhavana, you want to say
So
something?
yes, so
Huh?
one time I said that I reached there, the number of
Little.
people were not there.
Ah,
Then I managed it from other colleges. Like
okay,
I was
stay there.
expecting
I
50.
managed it with other colleges. So, what did you do to manage? But that part did not come out. She said, I managed. A lot of people say, I managed this. So, what will be your
Managed,
question then?
managed it from other colleges. Like
What
I was
is that you
expecting
did?
50.
What is
So
that you did?
mhm,
How did you go about?
yes,
When I
that was
say, when I
great.
ask you what is that you did or how did you go about, then you will start getting data and the person. Now you told me in the beginning, right in the beginning, all of you saying that in an interview, the most challenging situation for us, all of us is, hey, whether this person is faking or whether this person is actually giving us facts. How reliable is that person is talking about certain things? So he could be just giving fictitious data. Now, when you start sequencing, when you start, now I'm introducing you to something, a technique called, we start doing what? Probing. What is
Hmm.
that called? Probing.
Probing.
Did Subir probe?
He could have probed a little more to trigger.
So, so in your questioning method, you are only still scratching the surface. How? How did you go about? How did you go about? Oh, but we did not start. So probing is what, when you first say, hey,
Hmm.
tell me about a situation, then keep
Hmm.
probing deeper and
Hmm.
deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
Oh, oh, okay.
Hmm.
Sure. But what is that you did there? How did you go about? So you are getting, then the person has very little scope of what giving non-fictitious fictitious data, because then you can also observe the body language. Because do you know that the golden principle, that your body speaks a lot more than what you say. So when a person is not telling the truth, will your body language change? Yes. If you watch
Yeah.
the person, you can make out. So consistently, if the person is talking something, so he has to give the truth out. So keep on
Hmm.
asking at least one or two situations. So he can't keep
Hmm.
saying fake things. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is, so probing is a very important thing when you have to do behavioral interview. Okay. We are actually,
Okay.
so it's a skill. Today's session is not about what of it, not learn about, hey, theory, but because the questioning, everybody thinks I can ask questions. So I've been hiring people, hundreds, and no, questioning is a skill. It doesn't come automatically. You have to practice and practice and practice. Okay, guys.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the things after doing a star method? What do we need to do? We have to actually ask questions in a manner that they're sequenced and you're probing. You don't ask, okay, fine, you are finished. Then you keep jumping from one question to another. Then the person gets confused and the person is not going to give you the facts. So, first of all, probing questions. When Bhavana said, I did this, can you tell me what exactly did you do? How did you go about? Catch hold of something. Okay, then what did you do? Then what did you do? So you need to understand, get more of it. So typically the probing questions are, please, when you are probing, don't ask what, get into more. Can you tell me more? Then how did you go about? So these are some of the kind of questions you ask. And very
Hmm.
importantly, start getting into this habit of, when you want to do this interview, say can, use, how did you go about? So these are the words you're going to use. While interviewing probe, we, by asking who, to find out what the person did himself or herself, because I have this tendency of saying, we did this. No, but today you really want to know what Bhavana did. So you want to say, hey, but what was your role in it? You want to know what the person did it. So typically when you are answering questions, you'll say, we did this. Say, for example, there is a project and this person talks about a project. Or I was working in a project and we did this. But you want to know what was contributed by this person. You'll say, okay, what was your role? How did you go about? What action did you take? Then what was the result? So you want to know the contribution of it. So these are some of the questions when you're hearing a narration, to be very, very quick to. So what kind of a skill the interview will need when you're doing a BEI? Listening skill. You can't keep thinking of something else. Active listening. Is there a difference between passive listening and active listening?
Yeah.
What
There
is
is
it? What is it? Huh?
active listening. You listen with more presence of mind. You are
So what
actively
is that you do?
involved.
So
You
what
are
is that you
receiving.
do when you are an active listener?
You are receiving interpretation. You are receiving information by listening. You are interpreting, comprehending, and you are analyzing. So
Very
that's how you
interesting.
are.
Bhavana gave me all the things saying you are interpreting, you are all outcomes. But if I have
Yeah.
to observe whether Subir is, I want to test Subir for his active listening. So I'm an assessor. So what is that I need to observe and
Asking
record? Subir,
questions or not?
But I
huh?
think
Is he
more is
asking questions?
You can ask questions.
I can ask
listening and
questions,
processing
yes.
it and asking relevant questions.
Excellent. If I need to show the other person that I'm listening, so I need to actually ask certain, acha, okay, I need to nod. So I have to look at his body language. I have to look at some of those pauses. I have to look at some of the things he will ask. Because if you are an active listener, you want to check, you want to give, certain things. So that is passive. So when you do just passive listening, The other person doesn't get that feeling that, hey, is this person listening? I'm scratching my head or picking up some dust from my, the other person gets feeling, no, I'm listening. You carry on, you carry on. Huh? Or I'm putting one leg upon the other. And so what does it mean? So when I'm an activist now, the entire my so there is something you have to also show that you are listening. So there is body language there, leaning forward. So I'm actually, like my body language is okay. So what so will that person be keen to tell something? It's okay, fine, you rest for a while, then maybe we can talk later, right? Or I'm
Hmm.
actually calling up a person and talking and say, okay, you keep telling me. So would that be a listening? So you also have to show interested. You have to show interested. Have you seen good interviewers? How their body languages, they make you feel, because you want to
Hmm.
get so much out of the candidate. You
Hmm.
cannot show what? You have to show interest. So the interviewer equally has to show interest in getting the best out of the candidate. Mm. Okay, guys. So I want to do a very quick because we looked at this ORS method: observe, record, classify, and evaluate. Right? Okay. Now, you also have, let me just, we'll do both for competency and also we'll do for behavior. Um, one is keep your Excel sheet ready. Since we are 3 or 4, so we'll have one observer or maybe 2 observers, and we'll have one assessor and we'll have one SSC. That means one candidate and interviewer. And okay, all of you will have this sheet, behavioral based interviewing question bank. Okay, we have looked at adaptability, right? We will look at one more competency, right? Behavioral competency right now, which we use a lot. And we will also look at easier one. We look at customer service. Okay, is it a familiar competency? Customer service. Or we look at communication, which I want you all to go through the customer service. So Subir will be the volunteer. I don't want to. Subir, you want to be an interviewer or an interviewee? Can you be an interviewee?
Yeah. No issues.
Okay. Who wants to be an interviewer? Candidate? Candidate is Subir. Who wants to be the interviewer?
Okay, I will be interviewer.
Priya. You will be the interviewer. Okay. Bhavana and the other Anita will be observers. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'll give you just 1 or 2 minutes. Please, you have to test. The interviewer has to test Subir, that is the candidate, for customer service. Okay.
Hmm.
Here, he is coming for a position of, say, a sales manager who's typically responsible for all the products and services of, say, HR services. All right. So he is selling HR services and Subir is a candidate. And you are asking
Hmm.
him questions for, you want to test for customer
Hmm.
service. So think about
Hmm.
some of the questions and how would you, and Bhavna and Anita, you have to record, what is it? You have to record the behaviors. You have to record the behaviors, and then we will look at classification, that is scaling them at a level of proficiency. Okay, the time will be just about 2 minutes of interview, and focus only on this customer service. Got it? I give just 30 seconds for preparation. Suvir, think of it. This is the brief. And yeah, Just 30 seconds and give me a thumbs up. Observers also, please keep your format ready so that you can actually take down observations very well. And so the best way to take observations, plus, minus, okay, that way you know exactly. Plus means positive, minus means negative, that kind of an observation. I want you all to take detailed observation. Yes, guys. Ready? Just tell me. You can think about it. And Priyanka, keep your
Hmm.
questions ready. This is only
Yeah.
for you to help you, these questions. But
Hmm.
in customer service, you also have to know the definition of customer service as to what is
Hmm.
this customer service. All right? Come.
Hmm.
Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Can we start? You can do the
Yeah.
greeting, etc. if you want to. Yes.
Yeah. So be you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
You
welcome,
can do
Mr.
the
Subi.
typical
Um,
interview types. Huh?
yeah. So before starting this interview, we would like to let you know about this position. We are looking out for a sales manager who will be responsible for the sales activities of entire vertical of this consulting and advisory services of human resources to our clients. And he will be responsible for building new clients as well as for the delight of the existing customers, and to really help them out to understand their problems and resolve them.
Okay.
So
Good morning,
hope you're
ma'am. Thank
clear.
you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, I hope you're clear with the JD which we have shared with you. You have gone through it, right?
Yeah, I've gone through it, but I would definitely like to hear from you once we are through with the discussion.
Okay. So while the discussion goes on, I hope this discussion will be helpful for you to get more insights of the position. Can you please brief me about yourself and your work experience so far?
So I have around 10 years of experience in client handling, front facing, I would say. And in my previous organizations, I have actually managed, the HR services to almost 20 clients who have been using those HR services, the HR platform that we sell. And so there has been, so I have actually also gotten 5 customers through the reference of the existing customers whom I have a service. And for that, I got the best, award for 3 consecutive years, as the best HR personnel managing this service.
I
And
see. Which services you sold?
so I do complete HRIS, software that we sell to our clients.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an end-to-end software starting from recruitment to the exit details of the employees, and
Mm-hmm.
on a completely new age tech platform. It's on cloud platform, and
Mm-hmm.
that the customers use. We started
Okay.
initially almost around 10 years back, this services with only recruitment and the employee self-service, but over the period
Understand.
of time, yeah.
Okay. So, Subir, instead of the clients which you have taken the lead and generated lead, I would like to know more about the customers who were there on table existing in a kitty of the business. Did you approach them and understand what challenges they are facing in their system? And did you take that effort to understand how you can help them so that it will be a more customer satisfaction towards your organization and it will build trust for your company? Did you take any efforts as such?
Sure, ma'am. I'll typically give you an example of how I did it. So my approach towards customers are, when I take a new client, I first set up a meeting with them, and I say that give me 2 hours of time when I will take you through the entire platform, how it works, and then I'll generally take questions on what are the challenges they have faced over the years in using the platform.
Can you
And
take one example of any particular company?
so obviously, I'll give you a recent example that has happened a month back. It was a new client that we onboarded, and so they have been using the platform for 3 months. I took over the charge of customer service, a month back, and I heard that there's been some issues and all. So immediately on taking
What
over,
issue?
so they were not happy
What?
with there were idiot customers. They were not happy with the services. So the first thing what I did was that, the day one I was given the assignment, I called up the HR manager and said that, can I come over and meet you? So she was so irate, in terms of the services, that I don't want to meet you guys. We just don't want to use the services at all. So I pleaded again and again, and I said, ma'am, just give me 10 minutes. I would like to hear, what are the issues, give me actually a chance to actually hear you out. And then if I can't resolve the problem, then obviously you have the decision to decide whether to move on from the software or not. So I could manage, after persuasion of around 5 days, I could manage to be there on the 6th day in their office. Incidentally, the 10-minute discussion went on for almost 1.5 hours.
But why do you think that? What different you have done that she got persuaded? I'm just one single person calling 5-6 days, and that lady is getting ready even though she was not satisfied with the services. What magic you did? I mean, what was your?
There was no magic, ma'am. I think what I did was very simple. It was creating a customer delight. So what happened was that the first thing that happened was that there was no response from our team over the last almost 1 month. So there was a problem which was there, and they have been addressing the issue with us, but unfortunately it was going round and round. No solutions was given to them. So what I did was that I first took the problem. I said, you jot down the problems. There were some 3-4 problems which were there. They were doing the PMS, and the PMS software was not working. So what I told them is, I listed down the problems and I gave them a timeline. I said, obviously my first job is to hear you out and then give you a timeline and solve it. If I'm not able to solve it in a timeline, then obviously you have the opportunity, or you have the choice to go to other customers, other clients and all. So I decided on a timeline which was mutually agreeable. Some things were very prioritized. So he said, they said that this thing has to happen in 3 days' time. This has to happen in 7 days' time. So we agreed on a timeline at their meeting place. And that's where the discussion went on for 1.5 hours. And you'll be surprised that we are almost now, around 1 month, the discussion has happened. And in 1 month, except for 2 out of probably 7 problems, 5 have been resolved. And they're so
happy. How did you produce that solution? Like out of 7, 5, if you're saying, then what are your efforts? Tell me the situation which produced a solution for that client, and by saving the time, money, and what are your efforts into that? How did you approach your team?
We have just 30 seconds more to go. Okay.
Yeah, so as I said, it's very simple. You note down the problems, and then talk to your stakeholders in your organization, saying that these are the problems and these problems were not addressed. And some of the problems were very rudimentary. It was probably by talking to them, doing, taking them to the entire journey, they would have understood. So, that was not done. What has also happened, I realized that in their companies, some of the HR managers were new. They even didn't know how to run the software. So, taking them to a complete demo, hand-holding them, solve 2 of the problems. 2 of the problems were definitely from our end and all. And one problem was where, the specs was not correct. So he understood it wrongly. They understood it wrongly.
What innovative solution you provided? I mean, that is a simple, any sales manager which would have been in your position would have persistently approached. But what was that innovative solution or way you invented on yourself?
So innovation
One
is
more
all
last
about how you
question.
approach. If your approach is innovative, then it can be innovation. You need not do something to innovate, right? And my approach was, completely on the timeline, working on basic stuff and all. So one was understanding from both the sides, and then giving solutions to my client. So if that was
Good.
that how I say that how I innovated and did the thing.
So yes, so we're going to close the
Yeah.
very
Okay.
we have interesting. Let us hear some
Yeah. Thank you,
from
Mr.
the observers.
Thank you
So much, both of you. Please,
We are
thank
in
you
process
for
of interviewing
volunteering.
other candidates. We will get back to
Yeah.
you on the feedback soon.
Thank you so much. Now let's hear from the observers. Interesting data. Yeah, let's hear from the observers.
Before sharing any observation, I would
One
like
at
to
a time. I'm actually making one at a time. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so before any observation, I would like to ask one question. Is this good to say that I will get back to you and not reverting the candidates for so long?
Is it good to tell a candidate that we will get back to you? Huh?
Yes, and not reverting them for so long.
No. So typically what happens,
No.
the culture of the organization, whether you are rejecting, whether you are offering, whatever it is, there is one policy. And if it is a volume hiring also, you'll always say, hey, one line. If the person has been rejected, sorry, there is a line saying that, okay, we're not able to actually offer you a employment. Always respond. But some of the organizations, you give an interview, but you have no response from them. It sets out a very brand image. Maybe that person is not suitable, but he would actually like to tell the others, hey, that's a great position. Why don't you apply for that? So you can actually create a brand image even through your interviewing process. You may hire the person, you may reject the person, but nothing stops you from sending out a communication saying that thank you for taking off time. If a person came, he spent time, he came to your organization, he went through the interview process. So please, it's a courtesy to thank a person. Okay? And also, when you are closing the interview, you can always say, because nobody is going to take an immediate decision, right? Thank you so much for your time. We'll definitely get back to you. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very few people, very few organizations follow this typically. All right. Yeah. What are the observations?
Just a suggestion is like, we can also say that in case you are getting selected, we will get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. In any manner you choose, right? But you don't have to disclose you are selected or rejected, etc. Yeah. Tell
Yeah.
me. What are the observations? Let's see the interesting observations.
I have a couple of points. This is Anita. I thought at times I'll talk about the minuses to begin with.
First, talk about the pluses.
Okay, we'll talk about the pluses first. Okay.
It's always nice to start with a positive point. Always. Yeah.
Okay. So I thought, Subhir.
The focus is not so much. Yeah. The focus is more on the questioning pattern. We are not hiring. We are here learning. How do I question? How do I get the best out of the candidate? So it's all. So we are using these tools and techniques to get the best out of the candidate, and also to ensure that we can predict his performance. Okay. So the interview, the question pattern. Yeah.
Okay, then perhaps I'm getting the assignment wrong. What I did was I observed
No
how
problem. No, but it's good. Both of it. Yeah. Tell me.
So my observations are based on how Subhir answered Priyanka's question.
Hello, can I call you?
Right.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Sure. So the positives were, his communication, his listening skills. He was taking pauses to understand what Priyanka is wanting to hear. I thought that was the good part, right? He displayed, in few of his examples or responses that he gave, he stated, I would say how he solved a particular problem or a challenge that, his organization presented to him. When he was speaking about how an irate client was given to him and what is it that he the entire process or cycle or approach that he took to kind of address or get a burning or a triting client back to business, right? So I thought he presented that problem solving knack, a bit of analytical skills also, because when you talk about dealing with an irate customer, I think understanding why and trying to give solution to a problem that the client was facing with the previous customer success manager. So I thought in that perspective, he was able to present the entire approach of converting a negative client or a losing client into a positive client. So he kind of displayed that virtue very well in the interview. I thought at times Subhir was too general. If Priyanka would not ask questions, he would say, I was able to get 5 clients on board. I was the best customer success executive or manager, right? So at times his answers were too general. Priyanka had to kind of probe with counter questions to get the entire process of how you were able to get 5 customers. What is it that you did differently that your previous or other team members did not do? Right. So I thought at times it wasn't very factual, but it was too general. Right. I thought at
Okay.
times, he was, again, this was just my observation. The responses to questions of the interviewer was with responses which, I don't know how to put it, which kind of stated that, hey, this is an obvious answer, or why are you kind of asking this question? It's obvious. If I'm thirsty, I'm going to drink water. Just an analogy, right? So at times his responses were, the questions that you're asking, Priyanka, are too general. Why this question? This is what I felt as an observer, right? Correlating to the too general point, I thought at times, very very rarely, but at times he was missing the point that he was trying to put across. Right now, if somebody says that, I'm taking the same example, that I've got 5 customers. How is it that you were able to get 5 customers? Right? What is it that you did differently? Right? That your other managers or other team members or teammates could not do. Right? So I thought the positives for me were the approach. Right? When probed, he gave examples. Without probing, no. At times he questioned back the interviewer, with responses or body language which appeared that, hey, these questions are too obvious, right? He displayed problem solving skills when he spoke about the journey or the approach that he took about that particular irate client. He also displayed persuasion skills in that journey that he spoke about, how he said, I'm going to stick to timelines, I'm not going to repeat what the previous team member did. So I thought the persuasion skills also that he displayed with that example kind of shine through.
Good observation. Good observation. I'll talk about it. I thought there was one more observer also. Let's hear about as well. Was there one more observer?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see. You want to contribute?
Yes, I'll start with the positive point. In the starting of the interview, the conversation start with the interviewer was about the position. So she explained very well about the position and asked about the JD also, whether Subir has received the JD or not. So that was good because the candidate must know about the position. So that was clear in the starting. So that was the good start.
Okay.
Then what I observed as a lacking point, that I think the questions were repeatedly same, that what you have done, what innovative you have done. So the same kind of questions, I think, asked in different ways. And Subir presented, given his answers in a different ways, but the question was same, that how you have done this, how you have done this. And there were facts also in the answers of the Subir, that he has satisfied 5 customer out of 7, and he has delighted, and how he has converted them. There was some negative approach from the company. I mean, nobody was responding, so he has responded, and how he has organized all these things to convert them. So I think there were there were questions were repeated, same questions, and there must be some different kind of, if we are expecting that candidate answer in a factual way, we also have to ask questions in a factual way.
Okay, great. So I think both the observations and even the candidate and the interviewer done very well. So what is the learning for us? Whenever we are going to interview, what I need to know, clarity about the job, right? What we don't. Typically in an interviewing process, you will come across people who will just come, sit in the interview. At that point of time, they will read about it. Can you do justice to that? You have to understand, hey, what is this job about? For what position am I interviewing? So the first and the foremost responsibility for the interviewer is to understand the job, get hold of a job description, understand what are the key tasks, key responsibilities, and key competencies required for the job. Important, right? Then it doesn't come naturally at the spur of the moment to ask questions to the candidate. Do you think preparation time is required? Yes or no? Do you think preparation, even the best of people, you need to take time to, what am I testing for? My questions have to be based on the competencies or the skills or the knowledge, whatever I need to assess, I need to do preparation for my questions. So right now, I didn't give you any preparation to get your feeling. Have you noticed the person, I think it was Bhavana who asked questions, or who was it? Who was the person who asked questions?
Myself, ma'am, Priyanka.
Priyanka. So when I don't give you time to prepare time for questions, so our questions are not so appropriate. As rightly observed, uh, you were repeating because she was in, hey, you're giving me the same response, repeating the question differently. What magic did you, have you noticed this? What do you think? What magic? I
No,
kept on
ma'am, I
asking questions.
wanted to probe him
No?
actually by grilling,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
dig more detail and deep from him how he handled.
Exactly. Now I want to tell you, Priyanka. So when we want to probe, we have to change the way we actually probe, right? So, but if
Mm.
I'm just going by the data now, sometimes what happens, we are actually trying to question him in such a manner that Subir actually went into defense mode. Have you noticed?
Yes.
There was
Yes, I
nothing
have.
like that.
He was
He
just
is
want to
actually
prove himself that whatever he
he,
has done, that was right, and you
ah,
should accept
so
that.
he went into a defense mode. He went into supporting his own argument, saying this is what I did. So you will actually come across in practical situations when people are supporting their argument. When you begin to question, so the candidate begins to say, hey, they're doubting what I did, so I'll have to defend myself by substantiating, etc. So, but
Ma'am, but
person to,
that's also
Yeah,
good
I
opportunity
think
to
that's a
rate.
good. Yeah,
yeah.
because I think it's
Uh,
very important to validate, and you can only validate by asking probing questions, as you rightly said.
right.
And given the constraints of time, what Priyanka did was a wonderful job. I felt, though the words were repeated, could have been different words used, but I think she went on probing me, saying that how have you done that? How have you done, created customer delight? How have you added question? So and I obviously had to counter what I have said by proving that this is what I've done, so it also
Yes.
gives you a point of validation for the interview, saying that yes, you're not faking, but you are actually done these things.
Yeah. So typically when you are actually doing, it's not an allegation, but you should actually go by saying that, hey, what is that you did differently to
Mm.
get these 5 customers? Don't talk about if I say they could not get that, but you did it, he will try to get some kind of a even fictional data. What is that you did differently to get
Mm.
this? Are you getting me? Where I'm getting more
Mm.
action verbs.
You are actually making
If,
the
if
interviewee understand what you want to hear from him. That's what it is coming out.
and
Mm.
also, I noticed he was persistent. He kept saying, so
Yeah.
that's one
He
thing.
was
Now
persistent.
right? And now you are actually, when you copy all this data, record all this data, you are seeing, is there a consistency in actually when he is presenting his data? That's where you are able to also then evaluate. Huh? Uh, So you want more
Mm.
data. He stuck up at like a gramophone record, you know, I got more 5 customers. I did this. So you also analyze the statements. Is the focus more on just did, or is the focus coming to getting more into how did you go about? So that's where the interviewer again, if he's an active listener, will say, hey, I'm not getting data on. He's only giving me saying that, I got this award, I did this, but I'm not getting data on how did he go about? Because I also want to know what kind of an action he has taken. Did he do it by himself? Did he delegate? Did he plan? I'm not able to get part of it. So you will begin to probe further and ask him. So see, there are very smart ways. If you are not good at asking questions, then the candidate will take the ball in his court and he will start asking you questions. Do you know that? Then the
Mm.
candidate will manage. So preparation is very, very important. But if you have noticed, if I'm going to stick to this competency called customer service, so what does it mean? That means it can test, are you a solution provider? Are you giving alternative solutions? If the customer is having a problem, are you solving the problem? How are you solving the problem? Are you giving some immediate, is it that problem urgency? Are you understanding the urgency? Say, for example, my internet is not working and I have to do a lot of work. There is a huge urgency. Now you have called up customer care, and the person who's actually attending to you, he is not sensing that urgency. Got it? Then you'll have an what? Disappointed, aggrieved, and maybe if I were, the person will say, hey, this is happening too much, or this is so important, I can't afford to have this service. I'm going to change my telecom provider, right? So, from the other end, are you a person, first of all, understanding the urgency? Are you putting yourself into my shoes of empathizing the situation? Some people are not even active listeners. They say, okay, and then they don't get back to, are you giving immediate solutions? So, depending on the nature of the problem, also, so how good are you at looking at things? Have you noticed now how the way you ask questions, you will get the data. So, how you need to frame your questions in such a way that, so there are some do's and there are some don'ts. Because you're going to do a prepared, we're going to have a role play of an interview where you're going to prepare yourself. So questioning technique. So we are only going to first train ourselves. How are we going to ask questions? What kind of questions are we going to ask? Right at the beginning, introductory questions, in the middle, and how are we going to close questions? So typically when we ask questions, the no is no multiple questions. Can we ask multiple questions? Because the person will get confused as to what am I going to really answer. So let us actually go through those questioning technique. Okay, guys? Because you're going to really do, because the focus is more on how do you ask questions. We will do a small exercise on the questioning technique for particular competencies. Let us just go to that screen. One is when you're talking about the STAR method, use a STAR method, but also watch out for words like we, them, our unit when you're asking questions, okay? And watch out for those words. Watch out for words like would, should, and could. Why are they important? Would, I would do this. I should do this. I could do this. Hypothetical. I'm not looking out for hypothetical data. Okay? Because these are like a false start. There are many people who can conk off, who will give fictitious stories, because especially we are focusing on a behavioral event interviewing. So we are looking at past situations. So watch out for these would, should, coulds. I could do this. I could do that. Okay. Now, these are some of the questions. Give me an example of a time when you needed quickly to make a firm decision, or give me an example of most frustrating situation you have faced. So how did you go about? What is that you did? Describe a recent unpopular decision you made. What was the result? Describe the biggest challenge you faced in your work. How did you overcome it, etc. Okay. Say, for example, if I were to ask a question for a team player, are you a team player? Do you think that's a good question? Huh?
Close-ended question. You're actually answering what you want to hear. You are asking the question what you want to hear. He will obviously say yes.
So quickly, all of you just look at these questions. Okay. Tell me which are the behaviorally based questions and which are not the behaviorally based questions. We'll go one by one. So, are you a team player? Definitely, it is not. I'm not asking him. He will say, yes, I'm a team player, right? Tell me about a time when you were in charge of a task or a project. Describe your leadership style. Is it a behaviorally based question?
Yes.
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 Tell
Yeah.
me about a time when you took charge of a project. Okay. What interest or concerns do you have about the position or about working here at this company? Okay. Is it a behaviorally based question?
Yeah. Yes.
What interests or concerns do you have about the position, about working here?
Mhm.
It's not a behaviorally based question. It's more like asking
Yes.
him the challenges.
Yeah.
Now, look at this other question. What was your greatest challenge in a particular leadership role you have had? Say, Subir is in a CHR role. I'm asking him about a challenge and
Mm.
how did you go about it? Is it a behaviorally based question?
No.
Yes.
Yes,
The
yes.
greatest
Yes,
challenge
it
and
But
how
was.
you
here again, we are
Yeah.
asking for the challenge. So
How he behaved in that challenging situation. So from that
Yeah.
we can
So
understand.
you're talking about a leadership role. What was the challenge? And you want to know more about it. What
okay.
idea have you developed and implemented that was particularly creative or innovative? Is it a behaviorally based question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you want to know
Yes.
if this job needs creativity and innovation. So I'm testing you for innovation. You want to understand was there an idea and how did you go about? So I'll keep probing further. What characteristics do you think are important for this position? Is it a
No,
behaviorally based question?
no,
Yes.
it's
Huh?
not. No, it's not.
Everybody says it is not a behaviorally based question. Who says it is a behaviorally based question? Anybody? None. Great.
No.
Absolutely, it is not a behaviorally based question. Okay. Now, I'm giving you a little practice before your exercise. Convert these questions. Go through all the questions. Take a minute. You have to convert these questions into a behaviorally based questions. And I'm going to ask, are you a team player? Who will take up this question to convert it into a behaviorally based question? Anybody? Or
I
all
can.
of you can? Ah,
I
yeah, yeah.
How?
This
Ah.
is Anita. So are you a team player? Instead of this, we can ask more pointed question.
No. You ask, you frame
Okay.
the question. I want to hear
Okay.
the
I
response.
can.
Okay. So
We can make it like how you work as a team player.
now give us
Give
an
me a
example.
question.
Give us an example of a situation which displayed your virtue of a team player. Or
I
perhaps
would,
give us a situation which the entire team was involved, and what role you played in that entire uh, responsibility or
Okay.
activity.
Anyone else?
I would rather say that tell me a situation where your team was given a particular task. I can, of say doing a performance appraisal in 15 days time, and where out of 10 team members, 3 of us on leave during that time. How did you really go ahead and achieve that project? Or what are the things that you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else?
I would prefer to ask a candidate that why your team likes you. What is
Ah.
that which makes them to like you? What are the things they think about you?
You ask, no. Okay. Bhavna, you ask me. Tell me. Okay. We are framing this question. Bhavna, you ask me. You are saying, why? Okay. You said, why does your team like you? Ma'am,
Mhm.
my team likes me because I'm all the time giving them chocolates.
No, in terms of work. Definitely in terms of work. Why do they like you?
My team likes me because I'm always creating fun, having fun with them. I play jokes. So I'm
So
the most favorite person in my team.
okay. So
Have you realized, guys, how difficult it is for us? How, we feel these are simple things. Just think about it. Step back and think. I'm trying to say, hey, I want to find out whether this person is a team player. Now, today, as the technology has evolved, advanced, most of the work is around teams. Today, we want a collaborative person, we want a team player, and we want to
Yeah.
check. So how do we know? How are we sure that he has a collaborative attitude? And
we
when I bring them on board, huh?
can
Just
we
have you
ask
noticed?
yeah. Can we
Okay.
ask him like what
Yeah.
efforts you take to bring the people together? What
Yes, ma'am.
collaborative approach?
Take a lot of efforts. I take a lot of effort to bring the people
You can
together.
actually create a situation and ask how they have come out, how he has come out of the situation. That's
Simple.
possible.
So can you make so simple? Hi, Subir. Good morning. Well, I'm coming direct to the question, saying that Subir, tell me tell me at a time about a time when you had to be a part of a team. Okay. Okay. So what was your role? How did you go about? What did you have to finish? So first of all, I'm understanding what was that project about? What was your role? How did you go about? Hmm? In the end, what happened? How much time did it take? So if you just ask if you want to understand team player, you can't frame one question and get everything out of it. So first of all, you want to know, did he ever actually work in teams? Are you with me? You can't straight away, yes, oh, this is a team player question, so I have to just tell something. No. Were you a part of any team? What kind of projects did you work? Simple. Your questions have to be simple because they have to be understood by the candidate. Have you noticed? Like, for example, somebody said, she framed such a long question, I would have got confused. So, what I meant is, when you're asking questions, be simple. Were you a part of a team? What kind of a teams? You want to know what was the size of the team? You also want to know that, right? Was it a virtual team? Was it, a physical team? Then what was the project about? You want situation first. Okay. All right. Then what was your role there? What did you have to achieve the project? Then what was your role? What did you do? What was a challenge which came across? How did you go about? Then keep probing. Are you with me, guys? Is it clear? Just wanting to tell you how simple
Yes.
and how you can keep it straight so that the candidate understands it very well. How do you motivate people? Can you convert it into a behaviorally based question?
Yeah, we can.
In a simple statement, again, we are coming to, hey, tell me about a time you had to motivate your team. How did you go about it? Tell me a situation. Simple, look. What motivates you to excel? Again, if you say what motivates you to excel, you can keep talking about a lot of things which may not be true. But then convert it into a behaviorally based question. Tell me about a time when you had to excel in certain thing. What is that you did to do excel? How did you go about it? Right? You want to know how you went about it. How would you react to having your credibility questioned? So what is that you did? Huh? Tell me about a time your credibility was questioned. Then what is that you did? How did you go about? The how part is important. See, I'm trying to reinforce in your minds so that it can be hardwired in your minds. Guys, simple, but because we are hardwired differently. Say, we straight away jump into, like the questions they have asked here. Are you a team player? Are you this? We are hardwired, but we need to now change that hardwiring and get into I want to know the real Subir, the real Priyanka. So I need to get into that mode of thinking. Say that, hey, tell me about a time, a situation where you went about doing this. How did you go about doing this? Simple. It's very simple, but it is only our way of changing the mindset. Yes, guys? Does it really help you to now rewire yourself? Yeah? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I think what we will do now is we will do a quick, I'll give you time to prepare as a group. This is first step will be questioning method. What are the various kind of questions we can ask? How do we ask questions? Sequencing questions. So where it's okay. Yeah, start.
Okay.
I'm writing down.
So my first was problem solving. I took problem solving. So I had
Problem
noted down
solving.
basically just 2 questions, and I have said that share an experience you had in turning a problem into a success. Okay.
First, we'll deal with, first, what is the question? First question. You are, so
on a
if I've
problem-solving
understood
approach. Yeah.
rightly,
Problem
you are
solving.
talking about problem solving as one of the competencies identified for
Correct.
the position of HR business partner,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We are all on the same page? Okay. Now, how will you assess or evaluate or find out whether this person is, competent enough for problem solving? Yeah,
So my
what's the
question is
question?
that share me an experience where there was a problem and what did you do to convert it to a success, or even if it's not a successful, what are the things that you did to address the problem?
Can I ask you to just state exactly what the question, what you want to ask? Share.
His experience of managing, how had he managed a problem?
Okay. So you are saying, how have you managed the problem? So before even, so for everybody, we are now taking question by question. You said, how have you managed the problem? So maybe before even you say manage the problem, you would like to know what kind of
So
tell
my
me
question
about
is
a
that
time.
share a situation where you had a problem and how did you manage it is a question.
Yeah. So please tell me a time when you had some critical problem.
Okay.
You don't want to know whether the light was on, internet was not there, small. So you're always talking about one key learning now today is you're always talking about when you're actually assessing or evaluating or testing for competencies, critical incident. We call it as CIT technique. Please write it down also. Very important. Critical incident technique. All of you are HR people. So you have to just go today, Google it down, or I'll send you a very interesting article. This technique was first of all propounded by Flagnan, Flagnan, Flagnan. When you use performance management long before the competency theory or the competency development was propounded and pioneered by McClelland, we used critical incident technique method pioneered by Flagnan to analyze, appraise, and manage performance. Okay. Now, you may ask me, what is this critical incident technique, ma'am? Okay. So when you want to appraise the or evaluate the performance during the performance appraisal interviews, typically we would be asking the critical incidents in the any critical incident in that review period. We don't want to know about any kind of incidents. We only want to know about the critical incidents. Is there a difference between just, in your day's life activity from 9 to 5, there'll be many incidents. But I want to know in the recent past, are there any critical incidents? Okay. And there is a theory behind it, Flagnan's theory, very interesting. I would request all of you to go back and read, or else I will send you an article on that. Okay. Critical incident technique. This, in fact, was extended because in critical incident technique, Flagnan did not emphasize on the behavior part. Flagnan only emphasized on incident and the outcome. What of it and the outcome. Oh, what happened? Tell me, and then outcome. But further on, this same technique was extended and we started looking at the how part. That is the behavioral part. Okay. So whenever you are asking question, you have to know the recent, not 20 years ago, 15 years ago. In the recent past, please share or please tell me about a critical incident where you any incident where you had a problem, and could you tell me more about it? Right? You want to know. And then how will you probe? Yes, Subir. Now you tell me next. I just gave you an intro, which
Once
was for
it
everybody.
starts depicting the critical incidents, we then question is, okay, now you tell me what you have done. Okay, if this was happened, what happened? how did you approach the issue? So continuously probing him so that, he is able to
Absolutely.
recall exactly what has happened, and not making stories or not making a fake incidents and sharing it.
Right. So you can talk about how did you go about, you could talk about various dimensions in terms of, in problem solving, what are some of the situations which can arise? It can
Right.
arise in terms of resource materials, right? There may be a resource, so resources in terms of what money it could be, or material it could be, or time it could be, technology it could be. So you will identify you'll identify, hey, where was the problem, around what areas, and how do I manage to fix it? Was it is it a recurring problem? So if it was a recurring problem, did he do something about it, or is it a unique problem? You want to talk, you want to know about it, right? Because a person will behave or will come out with innovative ideas if it is a unique problem, or if it is a problem which has been happening. So as an interview, you want to know, is this problem, has it been a common problem? Does it happen often? Because then you are not a proactive person. You know that there is disruption. There's most of the time internet gets disconnected. Then will you at least be proactive and keep a backup, or will you do the firefighting?
True, true.
Huh?
In fact, my
Are we quick?
next question to this is that what are the ways or approaches you take to solve a problem? How do you approach? So that is again also
Okay.
talking about.
So you are now wanting to know, has this person got some kind of a knowledge in terms of, does he,
Problem
so
solving
various
ability.
ways of doing, options, ideating, etc., etc. Okay. So any more questions in problem solving you want to
I
let
think
the
I've
group
noted
know?
down these two questions
That's all.
just came to my mind.
Excellent. Now, can I understand that all the other members are also on the same page, or do you have any questions on problem solving competency? Yeah.
No, it's clear.
Huh?
Clear.
Very clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah.
Okay. So can we move on to the next person then?
I can
Yes.
go next. I had taken
Next
up time
competency?
management. Yeah, I had taken
What?
up time manage. I had taken up time management.
Let us actually first define. See, unless and until I know as an interviewer what is the definition of time management, will the definition of a time management differ from level to level? When I'm talking about
yes,
level
yes.
to level,
It would.
I'm talking about if I'm just
The sense of urgency.
HR
I think the sense of urgency.
associate, it will differ for me because the tasks and responsibilities are different, right? So time
I'm saying that
management,
the sense of urgency will depend upon the level.
exactly the way, yeah. So when I'm looking at time management with regard to HR business partner, etc., so what are some of the things I need to deal with? I also have to have an understanding, right? So what kind of responsibilities there would be, which would really need some immediate attention? So what kind of things I can actually, they might be important, but they may not be urgent. So typically, would you recommend an in-basket exercise for this person to assess time management? The person, who is this person who's volunteered for time management?
Anita. I've
Anita,
jotted
Anita.
down something, so I'm sharing my screen also.
Yeah, please. Now let us talk about it. Yeah, time.
Okay, so the given the JD, the assumption I made that it's a managerial role, so the person has a couple of team members under him or her. I kind of tried breaking down my questions in the star format. So
Sure.
I began with, or rather, I would begin with asking, have you ever been in a situation or describe the situation wherein you've had multiple priorities or multiple tasks?
No,
to
no, no. You
complete?
started with that question. I would like you to say that question. Have you ever been?
So describe a situation where you've had multiple tasks to complete within stringent timelines.
Okay, okay. Just take a pause here. I just want to clarify also.
Sure.
Never start a question by saying, have you ever? Have you ever? Have you ever? Because if I say, hey, Subir, have you ever gone for a, that I will automatically say, yes, ma'am.
No, sure.
Okay?
So my question was, describe a situation where you had multiple
No, I'm just
tasks.
trying to help you out.
Sure,
That's
sure.
a leading question. That is the leading question. Yes or no? Have you ever? That's a leading question. Yes or no? So leading questions should not be asked right at the beginning when you are actually looking for more detail, more probing. Leading question can be asked somewhere in between just to reconfirm and clarify. So, but never at the beginning, because they will not elicit more answers beyond yes or no. Okay, just for clarification.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, carry on.
Okay. Assuming the person said yes, my next question was, if you could help me understand what were these various tasks, right? So that, you know, it's factually kind of, we are speaking, breaking down and understanding the actual realities or the actual timelines or actual tasks the person had, right? So coming back, my next question was, what were these tasks and the key responsibilities or outcomes you had to achieve? Right. Then my next question after that was, how did you determine the importance of each of these tasks? You know, because we are saying multiple tasks, stringent timelines. How did you decide which is important, which needs to go first, and stuff like that, right? Then I'm moving, and I was a little confused, so I would need your input on this, ma'am. I was confused. So if you can see my screen, under task I've written, how did you determine the importance of each of these tasks, right? And then under action I've written, how did you prioritize or rated importance? So I was confused. Would it be under task? Would it be under action? You know, from a sequence perspective.
Okay. I'm actually seeing what. Yeah. Continue.
Okay. So my next question was, how did you prioritize? First was, how did you prioritize the importance, or how did you determine the importance? The second was, how did you pick up what needs to go first, what needs to go second, or what can go together? The fact that I assumed it's a managerial role, I said, what all tasks you managed at your end, and what is it that you delegated to your team members? Right, because I think delegation would be an important part of time management competency. So that is what I was trying to understand here. Then towards the end, I would request the person to give a walkthrough on the results or the entire process for each of these tasks that the person at individual level took, not the team, not the task that the team worked on, but the task that the individual HRBP manager worked on. So then I would ask to give a detailed understanding of what was the walkthrough, what results you achieved from the task you managed yourself.
Okay. So here it is. So typically when we ask questions, say for example, describe a situation, where you had multiple tasks to complete within stringent timelines. Okay. Describe a situation where you had multiple tasks to complete within stringent timelines. Okay. Now, so that person is going to respond by giving lot of tasks, right? Then I'm sure you will say, okay, fine, you will pick out one task from that and you will ask, how did you go about it? Rather than that, why don't we just straight away ask, hey, tell me about a situation where a critical task or an important task. Why do you want to know multiple tasks?
Okay.
Because, you are spreading thin. So you want to ask, describe a situation, a critical situation in the recent past, which you had to complete. You are also saying within stringent timelines, within some tight timelines, right?
Correct.
Now, once you have that task, once he describes to you that situation which was to be done, performed within those timelines, then you will start probing that. Now, just look at this. How did you determine the importance of each of these tasks?
So this was assuming multiple tasks.
Okay. Can I reframe that question? How will you reframe that question? I know the intent of your question, but the other person will, how did you determine the importance? Rather, you can reframe it as, how did you go about prioritizing these tasks? Do you think that will be a better reframing? How did you go about prioritizing these tasks? That means you don't want him to say something new. How did you go about in those tasks also? You had a list of 4 tasks. Now, how did you prioritize this task at that time? You want to know that situation, no? You don't want him to tell you something new this time, right? Are you with me, guys? Subir? It is not only for her, but for everybody. Huh? Okay.
Hmm.
Now, trying to reframe your own questions. Okay. How did you allocate time for each of these tasks? Again, simple reframing. How did you go about allocating time for these tasks? Prioritizing and allocating time, etc. You are first of all saying prioritizing in terms of importance, urgency and importance. If you see the time management think framework, so there are 2 dimensions, urgency and importance. There are certain tasks which are urgent, but may not be important, yet you have to do them. There are certain tasks which are important. That means you don't have to do it right now. You can actually do it at a later point of time, but they're important. Something like your planning exercises, something like a goal achievement exercises. But there might be something which is urgent and also important. So when you typically prioritize, you will first go about doing urgency and importance. You look at that. Then you go about urgency, which is very important, right? And then you will, which is neither urgent, neither important. A social call sometimes they'll say, okay, fine, if I have the time, I will make it. Otherwise, no. Are you with me, guys? Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Reframing? Okay. How, how many of the how many of the tasks you managed at your end, and which all you delegated to your team, and how did you decide on these delegations? Just look at this question. This question is a multiple question. What is it? It's a multiple question. Can we break down?
Yes, we can.
This is a multiple question. Now, when you ask a question like this, the person will get confused which one to answer. So break that question into 2 or 3 questions. First, ask him, where is that question? Your
I've
question?
I've broken it down.
So, how many tasks? Okay. So, how many tasks did you manage yourself? Right? Or how many tasks what were the tasks which you did?
Correct.
That's what you want to ask,
Yes,
no?
yes.
What were the
yes.
tasks which you did?
Correct.
Okay. What is your intent of asking what were the tasks you did?
Like I said, as managers, there are few tasks that we would have to do. And there are few that you can delegate to your team members.
Right. Okay. Okay. So now let me go to the second phase, saying that whenever we ask questions, we need to know what is our intent of asking. What is that I really want? Subir, are you getting me? That is very important. Whenever I ask a question, I myself I have to understand, hey, why am I asking this question? What is the intent of my question? What is that I want to assess from this candidate's behavior that I am asking? One is when you say how many tasks did you do yourself? What is the intent, Priyanka? Yeah, was it
Hands-on you are.
Now I'm asking her who asked the question. Yeah. What is the intent?
This is Anita. Like I said, the intent is to understand the responsibilities the person drives on his or her own end.
Okay. So by understanding that, what is that you are trying to get or attempt to? Just see, I'm trying to now.
Sure. Correlating.
Yeah.
Let's assume, let's assume the person has to come up with a new policy. Now that policy, I would not park it with a team member, because policy formulation of policy framing would be a key task which the manager would be required to do.
Okay. So are you saying that by asking these questions, that what are the tasks you do yourself and what are the tasks which you are delegating, you actually want to get to know from the person and understand that what kind in terms of importance will this person delegate, and will he actually do those tasks which are very, very critical? Is that so? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So I need to know when I'm asking a question, what is the intent and what am I trying to get out of it? how did you decide on these delegations? Or actually, what we can reframe this question by saying, because that person will not know how did you decide on these delegations. You actually want to know that what is the criteria or what is the basis uh, you have delegated this task. You want to know, right? How did you? So that is the question. Means basis or the criteria on which you are delegating these tasks.
Correct.
Because I may delegate tasks to my team members based on their capabilities.
Correct.
I may, so Subir has a team of 5 people. So to 2 people, I will delegate something because I find that they are the people who will do that. I may delegate tasks because they are more committed, maybe with a little input and that prep, etc. They are more committed, but the other guy may not be so committed, and I will not delegate tasks to them because I know that, and it is stringent timelines. I have to finish it. So will I delegate? So there are many ifs and buts. One is capability, the
Sure.
other is commitment with a little bit of training, or do I have how much of time, first of all, I have. Okay, what is the motivation level of my team people? If I delegate, will they do? Or as per the job description, is it their tasks to be done? Or as a sales manager, actually my sales reps have to, achieve targets. Or am I a person who will not trust in my team members and I believe that everything I only have to do? Are there managers who will do like that?
Yes.
I want to know all that, right? I know a manager who would not trust anybody. He will say,
Right.
no, 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 no. You just give it to me. I will do everything. And everything has to be done. So much
Right.
so the team members are never trained. They can't do much. And only question he will have is, oh, my team is useless. My team can't do. They're not dependable. When you don't even delegate, when you don't train them, when you don't coach them, mentor them, how will your team be successful? Everything, such people, are they good leaders? So can they be promoted just because he's trying to finish off all the work presented to the team he's always doing? But can he be promoted to leader level? Because leader job is not to do it itself. What, Subir? What would you do in such a position?
Obviously not. It's like you have to lead
Will
by
you promote
example.
this person? He's good at his work. But
No, no,
how does he do the work? He's doing it. All the monkeys on his shoulders. He will take everything. He will burn the midnight oil to do it. But when I keep promoting him to higher position just because he is doing good work, how much can he take it? A leader has to delegate. He has to inspire, motivate, and ensure that he creates a team, a pipeline, not doing everything himself. Got it? I'm just trying to make things very clear. So,
Definitely.
based on which criteria you have delegated. Good. I think you've done a good job, Anita. How did you? Yeah. So, I would like all of you to stop using when you're doing this in behavioral interviews and situation based. How did you determine? So, direct leading questions to be avoided, and talk more about, tell me more about it, tell me how did you go about it. That would be a better way of, it's just a question of reframing, because I know your intent is correct, but the way to reframe, as I said, you have to rewire yourself. Good work, and I hope you will begin to what, rewire the way you are asking questions. All right. Yeah, because we HR people have a different way of asking people, different way of saying things, right? Can I go to the next person?
Yes,
So one
that's
learning
right.
here before we go to the next person. What is it? No multiple questions, no
Yeah.
leading questions right in the beginning. Okay. Try to ask probing question to get much more. So that means what? Open-ended questions, preferably right at the beginning. Why do you think we ask a open-ended question in the beginning when we meet a person during the interview? Tell me something about yourself. Of course, to create some ice-breaking and comfort factor. But apart from that, open-ended, so that he can talk more about himself. When you ask a close-ended question, can you give me an example of a close-ended question? So many close-ended questions. Let us do a
I hope you are doing well. Obviously you say, yeah, I'm doing
yes.
well.
but it's okay, it's fine. So, okay, you are trying to create comfort. It's all right, right at the beginning. I hope you are doing well. Huh? You're not expecting more out of it, right? You're not going to probe further and further and further. Did you go to the doctor? I'm not interested in that. It's only just warming up. It's okay. Any other
What is
close-ended? Huh?
what are the total years of experience, relevant experience you are having?
So, so number of years of experience, close-ended. So just want to reconfirm. Why do you ask close-ended question? Just to ask reconfirmation. Okay, yes or no. Sometimes, oh, this is the third. This is the organization you worked in your previous organization. Just reconfirming, etc. So now we are very clear about multiple questions, open-ended questions, close-ended questions, leading questions. Okay, yeah. The next person. Quick, we have less time. Yeah. Hmm.
So I have taken the competency, which is decision making. So my first
This is
question, Bhavna.
Bhavna? Yeah,
Yes.
tell me. Huh. Hmm.
So I'll ask the question, please share three best outcomes which shows the importance of timely decision making is an important skill for HRBP.
Ah, okay. Straight out of theory. Share three outcomes for HRBP. Is that
Please,
so?
please share three best outcomes which
Uh,
shows the importance of timely decision making is an important skill for HRBP.
okay. Just think about it. Reflect on it. It's a very long, twisted, takes time to understand. Please share three outcomes which are very important. So rather than that, just tell them, no, can you tell me about one outcome, right? Huh?
Mhm.
Why did
Okay.
you choose us? Now you want to give them a multiple choice and say, out of these three outcomes, which is important? Maybe. But I would say avoid such. Come straight to the point. What is that? Why do you want to ask this question? What is the intent?
And then is to know the exact what is the understanding of the person regarding the decision making.
Say, for example, I'm just saying, I'll give you three outcomes. How would you get to an understanding of decision making?
But better you are able to take decisions on time. What is the importance to take decisions on time? So
I would like you to see, reflect more on it. It may not, based on the three outcomes, you're not going to really get how did the person take decision making. Let
okay.
me just
Okay.
think about it. Okay. Y- So your intent has to be clear. So if you want to know that, hey, how does this person take a decision? Or you actually want to know, Bhavna, what are some of the key decisions the
Key
person takes?
decisions. Okay. Okay.
Right? You agree? You
Correct.
actually
Correct.
want to know what
Yes.
are some of the key decisions this person takes in her or his role. Are you getting me? Others are also getting. She was wanting to know outcome. She was wanting to know, but her intent was typically in this role. What are some of the simple as that? What are some of the key decisions she
Or
has to take?
Bhavna,
Or
you can also ask a question like, if you're in HRBP role in FMCG, you have a non-performing candidate, right? You can ask the HR that, how do you deal with the candidate? What decision will you take? You have already put in PIP for 3 months. What is the decision you will take? Ask him to go or
yeah.
probably.
So here, Subir, this is a hypothetical question. So
Okay.
just linking to her question, she wanted to know typically what were some of the key decisions she has taken in the recent past. She could say promotion I've taken, ma'am, this. So depending on that, you will also get an understanding. Hey, what these are some of the decisions she is taking. So out of this, only some will be key. You can also gauge the level of intensity of the decision making. I told you no judgment, no inference. Okay. Then after that, say for example, she says abstract or in the recent past, have you had any decision? Have you had any situation or where you
So
had to actually
yes. So I have. Mhm.
deal with the PM? Yeah, just 1 second. I'm just wanting to connect with that Subir when he said, because we normally HR people have this PIPs. So, did you have any situation where, if you're wanting to highlight on that, did you have any situation where you had to deal with a underperformer? What did you do, or how did you go about with that underperformer? Then you will get a good understanding of whether she put that person on a PIP plan and what did she do, and etc. etc. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yes, Bhavana.
So next question is, please share a critical incident where you have took a action against integrity of a sales manager. So this shows the decision making skill of a person, that how what he or she has done, and how, yeah, step by step.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we can always reframe this question, because integrity is very important in an FMCG for a sales function. So you are asking, hey, did you have any instant where you had to actually, take an action or a situation with the integrity of a salesperson? You are not assuming that there was already one integrity case. You are asking, first of all, checking, hey, did you have any situation? If
Okay.
yes, then how did you go about it? Because if you did not have, then he will have to do some faking thing, because you are asking me, so I have to come up with some fake. No?
Okay.
So you have to ask first, check, saying, did you have any situation like this? Then if yes, then how did you go about it?
Okay.
Okay, good,
Okay.
good. Then any other?
Yes, 2 questions only.
Yeah. Great. I think there was some learning here as well. Now, can we have the other person? There's one more person, right? Do we have one more person?
Yeah,
We had,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, tell me. This is what,
Priyanka. Priyanka.
Priyanka. Yes, Priyanka, tell me.
Yeah.
Which competence
Okay.
did you take up?
Yeah, the competency which was taken up by me was ability to deal with different stakeholders.
Excellent.
Yeah, so stakeholders for HRBP were like the individuals or group directly affected or invested in this particular scenario. Like if it is various projects or initiatives, this will be mostly the internal stakeholders for this HRBP person.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah. So my first question will start with understanding who are the different types of stakeholders he is dealing with. So I will ask
Yes.
first, who are your different
Excellent.
stakeholders?
Excellent.
Because to understand, does he really have understanding of internal stakeholders, as there are different levels of people within the different hierarchies, and how he present that?
Excellent. Just to reinforce your question, who are your key stakeholders you have to deal with? Absolutely. Yeah. Next.
Once he or she gives me satisfied answer, then I will move forward with the next question. Out of all these stakeholders, it's for sure that you are dealing with different personalities. So, which is the most difficult personality you find to deal with, and why do you think like that?
Yeah, good question. So you can ask, so according to you, who's your key stakeholder? Who is one of your key stakeholders who is difficult to deal with, right? Difficult to deal with. Yeah, absolutely. Among these key stakeholders, who's a difficult stakeholder to deal with? You want to know, you have listed out 5 to 6 stakeholders. Who is a difficult stakeholder to deal with, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Ah,
Then a person will give me the answer that XYZ person is the most difficult person to deal with. Then I will ask why
right.
he or she, why you think that she is the most
Exactly.
difficult.
Why, according to you, is a difficult stakeholder, right? Right. And then go to a situation, no?
Yeah.
In the
Then
recent
I will.
past. Hmm.
In recent past or recently, have you faced any incident or something which is making you to think in this direction that this person is difficult to deal with? Why you?
Right.
Can you give me an example?
No. So I don't want to know why she's thinking, but tell me a situation. How did you go about dealing with a situation
Ha.
which made you difficult to deal with? Because you're not really wanting to know the reasons now. So sometimes you want to just jump in saying, okay, tell me about a situation. How did you deal about with this, a situation which made her feel very difficult, and how did she go about? No, she'll tell you
Yeah.
the entire story of it, where you can classify, observe, record, and
Yeah.
classify the
Like,
behavior, what she did, how did she go about. Yep. Yeah.
yeah. How did you handle interactions with that person?
What did you do? So you want to know everything. So you really
Yeah.
spend a lot, you have to spend a lot of time in understanding and going through the entire situation so that you have a handle over that behavior. So mind you guys, yeah, I think all four of you have changed from that first scenario where you asked different way of questions to right now. I think you are better in a better frame, and you have to some extent rewired the way to ask questions, how to start a question positively, and what is that you really wanting to get out of it. Great. So, first of all, congratulations. All four of you have really done some good thinking, identifying core competencies which are very critical for this HR business partner role. And you've been able to ask some good questions as well. So, to give it a quick summary and a recap, what is that learning? Yeah. Can we just summarize our learning so that when you go back, then you can really practice on these things? Hey, guys, BEI and competency based interview are almost the same, interchangeable. You use a BEI as a tool to do competency based interview. Okay? Right. Now, what do you need to do when you have to do a competency based interview? There are few things which are a must. What is it? You need to know for which job you're doing. Two, you need to identify what are those competencies which you have to assess. Because if you don't know the competencies for the job, then how are you going to actually do a competency based interview? It is not necessary that all organizations will do competency mapping and then they will identify or determine competencies. You can always take an initiative when you are doing an interview, take the job description. Now that you know the competency mapping, you can do some preparation and identify the competencies through through the tasks and responsibilities. Can you do that? Yes or no? You can
Yes.
identify if there is not there, because you can't say, hey, we don't have competency, so how can we do a competency based interview, right? Okay, after having done that, very very important is why is the job description important? Like if you go back to assessment center, I told you that it tells you to what extent is the competencies intensity is required, because the building blocks of behavior, you can actually ask questions, you can actually look at situations when you are evaluating to see that, hey, what kind of a behavior has been demonstrated, uh, to what intensity problem solving has been demonstrated, to what intensity the time management competency has been determined. How, when you ask a situation, you will see what did he do to go about doing planning and organizing, or when you will see a situation of time management, what did he do to allocate his prioritization of urgency, importance, etc. Are you with me now? Huh? Through the behavior, you are able to align it with the level of proficiency. That is important. Hey, all four of you, give me a thumbs up, because only through the behavior you are able to what? Scale. You are able to evaluate to which scale this behavior comes. Means what scale of proficiency is he demonstrating? And as opposed to, then you will say, hey, but my level of proficiency is required this much, but he is only demonstrating this much of proficiency. But is he at a threshold? It's okay to train him. I will take him. Or do I really need a differentiating? It's not trainable. I don't require threshold. I need differentiating. Then, and it's a must to have. Then you will think about whether you should then hire him or not. Did you get that? Huh? So past behavior predicts future behavior. Why? So that is how you will be able to say, hey, this is the kind of a behavior he has demonstrated in these competencies at this level. Now, but I need at this level as per my competency mapping. So do I have that kind of a readiness to give him training, or do I really need plug and play kind of a thing that I don't have any time for training? So he needs to be in readiness. So I need to spend more money to get a person who is at a higher level, not just minimum. So that is the leverage as a recruitment manager. I will take a call saying that this is the budget. So do I need somebody who's already there? Or can I have somebody at a threshold and I can take him at a lower salary, train him up? These are some of the critical questions as a CHRO or as a manager of recruitment, because you don't have resources. You don't have all the money. Okay. But sometimes what happens? The business manager say, hey guy, I want somebody because this guy has resigned and I need somebody as of yesterday who can just take on within a week's time. That means what? You need really a person at a differentiating level and who can readily take on is at a middle level, managing so many clients. So quickly you have to pay at a higher salary so that the competencies are at a higher level of proficiency. I hope I've been able to drive this point very clearly, guys. So use STAR method always. Okay, make your questions more positive and not start with trying to ask a question which is more, make it more open-ended as opposed to close-ended. Never ask a question directly where the person gets into a defensive mode or trying to say, safeguard his own turf. So, because the interest is in making him more comfortable, getting him out of the shell and getting more input from him, not what he can do. You want to know what he has done. This is not a question of can do, but it is a question of, hey, what he has done. Because I will tell many things. I can do this, I can do that. But have you actually been in those situations? Because please mind you, I want to leave with this one last statement saying that I told you that if you have, what does McClellan say? The presence or absence of a competency will be reflected not just in one situation, in different situations. For example, if there is a competency called attention for detail, will you say I will be very attentive and very careful about details only in one situation? This competency, I will be, whether it is in any job, it will reflect. If you are an HR op, whether you are a lead manager, any situation, if I am a person who is having time management competency, I will prioritize my work. I will do planning and organizing. I will know which is important, which is urgent, which is important. So I will do all that. So the presence or absence of a competency does not reflect only in just one situation. It will showcase in any situation the employee is there. Please go and watch some of the behaviors of your key employees and see, if you are looking out for a particular empathy. If you are empathetic, it is not necessary that when I only don a cap of a counselor, I'll be empathetic. Will you be empathetic in all situations? Yes. When I'm talking to a friend, I will empathize if he's telling something. So that reflects. That is the key for success. Okay. So any questions, guys? So we're saying none. I'm already full. The cup is full. So typically, when the cup is full, you empty it out.
Quite enriching.
Pardon?
It has been quite enriching for me. So
yeah. So this is something you need to more reflection mode. Bhavana, any questions?
No, ma'am.
No? Anita? what I would actually to end with say, you may be having certain instances, you may be having certain challenges in your role. Feel free. You can always write. There is a WhatsApp there, common WhatsApp. And initially, it is like learning a car, putting clutch, So you can always throw questions. The group is there. We are always there to handhold you, support you. And this is a skill. It doesn't come just because you have spent 3 hours here that tomorrow you can ask. No, you have to, just like a child, right now my grandson is learning to talk, so just like practice, 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 and makes it perfect. Become conscious first of all. I'm not here to give a spiritual teaching, but yes, be in the moment. How do you ask questions? What are you doing? So if you start looking at that, mind you, you're not only going to become a great person, but you will be really become aware of yourself and also your environment. Okay. So with that, I wish you good luck in your careers. I hope this session on competency mapping, we started with identifying competencies, competency mapping, assessment centers, and competency-based interviewing with the help of a BI were helpful in raising the bar. Okay. And going forward, you will be able to, get more out of this and maybe successful careers. Thank you, one and all. It was wonderful interacting with you guys.